He was tired of being poor, so he made the darkest choice of his life. He agreed to sacrifice his own brother for wealth. But what happened that night shocked the entire village. In a quiet village in eastern Nigeria, two brothers lived under the same roof, but carried very different hearts. After the death of their father, life became hard for the family. Their mother, Mama Ifeoma, struggled every day just to put food on the table. But while one brother chose patience, the other chose bitterness. Chinedu was the kind of son every mother prayed for: calm, respectful, and hardworking. Every morning before sunrise, he left home in search of any honest job he could find. Even in suffering, he still believed that one day God would remember him. But his younger brother Emeka had a different heart. He was tired of hunger, tired of shame, tired of watching other young men in the village drive cars, build houses, and live big while his own family suffered. To Emeka, poverty was no longer just pain, it had become humiliation. One afternoon, under the village mango tree, the women gathered as usual to gossip, and once again, one name entered every mouth: Chief Odogwu, the richest man in the village. New jeep, new land, new houses. Every week his wealth increased. But the elders whispered something darker. They said no man becomes that rich without feeding something in the dark. Emeka heard every word, and instead of fear, he felt curiosity. For the first time, his mind began to wonder if the rumors were true. What if wealth really had a secret? That same evening, Chinedu sat outside with Ngozi, the woman who loved him despite his struggles. She believed in him. She saw beyond his poverty. But love is never easy when there is no money. Her family had started asking questions. When will he come for introduction? When will he prove he is ready? Chinedu wanted to marry her, but poverty kept delaying his dreams. As Emeka passed and saw them together, he laughed bitterly. To him, love without money was just another form of suffering. In his heart, he had already started believing one dangerous lie: that money mattered more than peace. That night, Emeka could not sleep. The whispers of the village women kept echoing in his head. So he made a decision that would change his life forever. He followed Chief Odogwu, quietly, secretly, into the darkness of the night, past the palm trees, past the narrow village paths, and deeper into the forbidden forest. Then he saw it, a hidden shrine in the middle of the forest, burning oil lamps, red cloth, white chalk markings on the ground, clay pots arranged in silence, and standing before it was Chief Odogwu himself. Beside him stood a feared native doctor. The air was heavy, even the night seemed afraid. Emeka hid behind a tree as he listened. Chief Odogwu wanted more wealth, more power, more influence, but the native doctor told him the spirits were hungry again. This time, they wanted blood, not just any blood, blood from his own bloodline. Suddenly, Emeka stepped on a dry branch. The sound tore through the silence. Chief Odogwu turned at once and shouted, "Who is there?" Fear gripped Emeka's body. Without thinking, he ran for his life through the dark forest. By the time he got home, his body was trembling. Sweat covered his face. His mother noticed. Chinedu noticed too. But Emeka refused to explain. Then he asked a question that chilled the room. "If someone could become rich overnight, would you do it?" Chinedu answered immediately. "If it is evil, never." The next day, Emeka went straight to Chief Odogwu's mansion. He had seen too much, and now he wanted in. When he stood before the rich man, he told him the truth. He had seen the shrine. He knew the secret. For a moment, Chief Odogwu looked at him like a man deciding whether to kill him or use him. Then he smiled. Chief Odogwu saw something dangerous in Emeka. Hunger. The kind of hunger that makes a man easy to control. He told Emeka plainly that if he wanted wealth, he must be ready to pay for it, because the spirits never give anything for free. That night, Emeka stood in the shrine, face to face with darkness. The native doctor spoke without mercy. If Emeka wanted riches, power, and respect, he must bring a sacrifice. Not a stranger, not an enemy, but someone close to him, someone whose blood would carry pain. For one brief moment, Emeka wanted to run, but then he remembered the years of hunger, the shame, the mockery, the helplessness. And when the native doctor asked who he would bring, Emeka made the darkest choice of his life. He said the words no brother should ever say. "What if I bring my brother?" While Emeka was choosing darkness, Chinedu was still doing what he always did: working, praying, enduring. Then at the construction site, his supervisor called him aside. He had been promoted. He would receive an advance payment. For the first time in a long time, Chinedu smiled from his soul. He thought heaven had finally remembered him. But Ngozi had sharp eyes. She noticed Emeka moving too closely with Chief Odogwu, and her heart became restless. She knew that man's name never followed peace. So she ran to warn Chinedu. She begged him to be careful. But Chinedu still believed his own brother could never betray him. That evening, Chinedu confronted Emeka. What started as a simple question quickly turned into an explosion. Years of bitterness poured out of Emeka's mouth. He shouted about suffering. He shouted about poverty. He shouted about always feeling less than his brother. And for the first time, Chinedu realized something terrifying. His brother was no longer just angry. He was broken. That night, Emeka came with soft words. Too soft, too easy. He apologized, said he was sorry for everything. Then he told Chinedu about a job opportunity at an old palm plantation. A chance for both of them to move forward. Chinedu believed him. Because when your heart is pure, you sometimes forget not everyone's heart is like yours. Under the cold moonlight, the old palm plantation stood silent. No birds, no breeze, only darkness waiting. Chinedu followed his brother without suspicion. Step by step, he walked straight into betrayal. Suddenly, masked men jumped out from the shadows. They grabbed Chinedu, tied him, and forced him to the ground. He shouted in confusion. He called Emeka's name. He struggled. He looked around in panic. Then he saw the truth. Emeka was not trying to save him. Emeka had brought him there. From the darkness, Chief Odogwu stepped forward. The native doctor followed behind him. The ritual was ready. The sacrifice had arrived. In that painful moment, Chinedu looked at his own brother and realized he had been sold for wealth. But just when darkness thought it had won, a voice cut through the night. "Leave my son." Mama Ifeoma appeared with a lantern in her hand. Ngozi was beside her, and behind them came villagers. They had followed Emeka. They had seen enough. At last, the secret of the shrine stood exposed before witnesses. Fear entered Chief Odogwu's eyes. In panic, he pulled out a gun. People screamed. Some ran, some froze. Lantern lights shook in the darkness. Then a gunshot rang through the forest. Everything stopped. Silence swallowed the night. But when the smoke cleared, it was not the villagers who had fallen. It was the native doctor himself. The dying native doctor looked up with blood on his lips, and with his final breath he spoke the truth. Blood money always collects its debt. Suddenly, Chief Odogwu began to choke. He coughed violently. Blood spilled from his mouth. His eyes widened in terror. The same darkness he had fed for years had finally turned against him. Right there in front of the entire village, Chief Odogwu collapsed to the ground. Dead. Just like that, the man everyone feared became a warning. The villagers rushed forward and untied Chinedu. He was free, but the wound in his heart was deeper than any rope could leave. He looked at Emeka, the same brother he had protected all his life, and the pain in his eyes said what words could not. Then Emeka fell to the ground, crying uncontrollably. The pride was gone. The greed was gone. Only guilt remained. He confessed everything. He admitted he had chosen wealth over blood. He admitted poverty had poisoned his mind. He admitted bitterness had destroyed his soul. Mama Afeoma wept like a woman whose heart had been torn in two. One son nearly dead, the other son nearly the reason why. No pain is heavier than a mother watching her own children destroy each other. With tears in his eyes, Chinedu asked the one question only a true brother could ask. Why? And Emeka answered with the truth. Because I was tired. Tired of being poor. Tired of feeling useless. Tired of watching life move forward while I remained behind. Before dawn, the police arrived. The villagers had already reported everything. The shrine was exposed. The truth could no longer hide in the forest. Chief Odogwu was dead. The native doctor was dead. And the evil that had haunted the village for years had finally been dragged into the light. Then Emeka did something nobody expected. He stepped forward and surrendered himself. No more lies. No more excuses. He told the police to arrest him. Because even though the ritual was never completed, he knew he still had to answer for the evil he agreed to commit. 6 months passed. Slowly, life returned to the village. The shrine was destroyed. The fear around Chief Odogwu's name began to fade. And where darkness once stood, peace slowly began to grow again. Chinedu's life also changed. The job he had worked so hard for opened new doors. With honesty and discipline, he started a small building materials business. Nothing magical, nothing evil, just honest progress. The kind that comes slowly but stays. One day, a prison vehicle stopped nearby. Emeka stepped out, thinner, quieter, humbled. He had been released after cooperating with the police. He returned home, not as the proud young man who chased riches, but as a man carrying the weight of what he almost became. He stood before his mother with his head bowed and asked for the one thing he did not believe he deserved: acceptance. Mama Ifeoma cried and embraced him, because no matter how deeply a child falls, a mother's heart still remembers love. Then Emeka faced Chinedu, the brother he almost sacrificed, the brother whose trust he destroyed. He said quietly, "I do not deserve forgiveness." And Chinedu answered with the kind of grace only strong hearts can carry. "Maybe not. But if God gave us another chance, who am I to refuse?" And in that moment, the two brothers embraced. Not because the pain had disappeared, not because the betrayal was small, but because sometimes mercy is the only thing stronger than evil. In the end, the money that comes with blood will always demand more blood. Wealth built in darkness never lasts. But the man who waits for honest blessing may arrive late, yet he arrives in peace. This is the story of the blood money secret.